Yeah, I was on a Saturday morning. I was 19 years old. The sheriff's department came to my mother's house on a Saturday morning and asked me to come up to the sheriff's department and answer a few questions. I said, sure, I got nothing to hide, no problem. I went up there. They followed me in my truck. For the first hour in the interrogation room, they were like my friends, They asked me, where was I on this night? No problem. I told them where I was, what I did from when I woke up till I went to bed that day on September 18th. And about after an hour, they started accusing me, and they said that I was full of crap and that I did this. And I remember the cops they call it tag team interrogation. One officer would leave and one would interrogate me, and then that one would leave and the other one would come in. And they tried to screw me up. They would stare me in the eye, and one of them got up, slammed their hand on the desk and said, you did this, tell us how you did it, you're lying. They made me take my shirt off. They were looking for scratches. They took pictures of me, they fingerprinted me. After about 5 hours of verbally harassing me, accusing me of this, yelling at me, they asked me to sign a waiver to search my vehicle. I signed the waiver. I said, sure, no problem. I repeatedly asked to make a phone call. I asked to call a lawyer. They told me, they said in my trial that I never asked. I did ask. They searched my vehicle, they dusted it, they vacuumed it, they fingerprinted it. After about 10 hours of all this harassment, yelling, screaming, accusing me, they asked me to take a polygraph test. My nerves were about on their last leg. I was a 19-year-old kid and they're trying to accuse me of this. I was actually fighting for my life. I was telling them the truth and they said I was a liar. To this day, I would like to look at them two officers and ask them who was lying. You know what I mean? Because they took the stand and said that I never asked for a phone call, I never asked for this, and I did. But they're now since retired. They got, I understand that they're officers and they got to do their job, but the way they interrogated me, I wish they had on nobody. The way they yelled at me and accused me and, looked me right in the eye and told me I'm lying, told them how I did this, and I'd scream back at them. And I remember I went up, they took me in a cop car and they took me up to the night at the troopers barracks. They threw me in a room. They threw a book at me and they said, here, read this book. It's all about polygraph test. I looked through it for about 20 minutes, then in come a guy. He said, I do this for a living. They gave me a polygraph test. And they brought me back, and on the way back to the sheriff's department, the two officers said, would you like to stop at McDonald's or Burger King? I told them in a few choice words, I said, I don't want to be nothing from you, you know what I mean? I just want to get home. I said, people wouldn't even let me contact my family after 12 hours. It was just the worst day of my life, you know what I mean? It was just, I felt so degraded that they called me a liar. I did this. And it was a horrible experience, That's why I actually went to Albany and I talked to a wrongful conviction panel and the Bar Association to push for filming in interrogation rooms now. And McNamara even said it in the documentary that 90% of the cases they do film now, so you could see what actually happens in them rooms. It's just that. It's just a horrible experience,